A 3,000-year-old text claims to contain the blueprint for transmuting base metal into gold. And for centuries, the world's most brilliant minds believed it. In 1541, a Swiss alchemist named Paracelsus made a calculated decision. He'd spent 2 decades chasing the philosopher's stone, burning through his entire fortune. He knew his time was running out, so he wagered everything on a single text, the Emerald Tablet. He believed that tablet held the key not just to gold, but to understanding the fundamental nature of matter itself. What he didn't know was that this decision would trigger a 500-year obsession that consumed thousands of lives and millions in gold. Let's rewind. The Emerald Tablet appears first in Arabic texts around the 6th century AD, but its origins, nobody knows for certain. Some scholars trace it back to Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure from ancient Egypt and Greece combined into myth. Others claim it emerged from Mesopotamia. The text itself is short, fewer than 300 words in most translations. But those words promised everything: the secrets of creation, the formula for eternal life, and yes, the method to turn lead into gold. Here's the problem. Nobody actually possessed the original tablet. It was always a rumor, a reference, a text quoted by someone else who quoted someone else. The oldest surviving version came through Arabic translation, then into Latin in the 12th century. Each translation was a strategic choice made by men under pressure, monks and scholars who had to decide. Do we preserve the literal words or the intended meaning? Those decisions cost the text its clarity. By the time it reached Renaissance Europe, it had become a Rorschach test. Everyone saw what they wanted to see. The text itself reads like encrypted poetry. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below. It sounds mystical, but here's what it actually claims. Everything in the universe operates on the same principles. The microcosm mirrors the macrocosm. In other words, if you understand one thing deeply enough, you understand everything. To a Renaissance alchemist in 1500, this wasn't poetic nonsense. This was a roadmap. They believed the universe operated through hidden correspondences, that lead and gold weren't just different elements but different expressions of the same fundamental substance. If the Emerald Tablet revealed that universal principle, they could theoretically manipulate matter itself. The cost of being wrong: years of wasted effort, ruined furnaces, poisoned lungs from mercury fumes. But the payoff: infinite wealth and the secrets of creation. By the 1600s, the Emerald Tablet had become an obsession among Europe's elite intellectuals. Isaac Newton owned 3 different copies. He spent more time on alchemy than physics, and we're talking about the man who invented calculus. Newton believed the tablet contained the key to understanding gravity itself. He annotated his copies heavily, filling margins with calculations and cryptic notes. He never published his alchemical work. He knew his peers would mock him, but he couldn't stop. What Newton and thousands of others missed was a fundamental error in translation. The Arabic word kibrit, which appeared in early versions, was rendered as sulfur. But in context, it likely meant something closer to essence or principle. One word, one mistranslation, and it sent an entire civilization on a wild chase for a chemical process that was never actually described. But here's where the story shifts. By 1750, chemistry was becoming a real science. Chemists started asking harder questions about the tablet's claims. They ran experiments. They measured results. And they discovered something uncomfortable. The tablet didn't actually contain any new chemical information. It was philosophy dressed as instruction. The alchemists had been reading meaning into ambiguous language, seeing what they desperately wanted to see. The real treasure of the Emerald Tablet wasn't chemical, it was philosophical. What the text actually described was systems thinking. The idea that everything connects to everything else. That you can't understand one part of reality without understanding the whole. In 2024, we call that systems theory. In 1200, it was revolutionary. So what actually happened to the Emerald Tablet? It never existed as a physical object that anyone ever held, but the text survived. Dozens of versions exist in libraries from London to Cairo. The British Museum has one. The Bibliothèque Nationale de France has another. None are originals. All are copies of copies of copies, yet they've been studied more intensely than almost any ancient document. The cost of chasing the Emerald Tablet's secrets was staggering. Historians estimate that between 1,400 and 1,750, alchemists burned through the equivalent of hundreds of millions in modern dollars. Entire fortunes vanished into furnaces. Brilliant minds wasted decades on a text that was never meant to be a chemistry manual. But here's the paradox. In chasing the impossible, they accidentally invented modern chemistry. They developed distillation, crystallization, and systematic observation. The tablet's true power wasn't in what it promised. It was in what it inspired. It made people believe that the universe operated according to rational principles that could be decoded. That was a radical idea in 1200. It led directly to the scientific method. The Emerald Tablet didn't contain the secret to gold, but it contained something more valuable, the blueprint for asking the right questions. Today, scholars treat the Emerald Tablet as a historical artifact, not a chemistry text. It sits in academic libraries studied by historians of science and philosophy. The gold rush ended. The obsession faded, but the questions it raised never did. How do we decode ancient texts? What gets lost in translation? When does metaphor become mistranslation? These questions still matter. The final twist. Modern scholars have largely concluded that the Emerald Tablet was never meant to be read literally. It was hermetic philosophy, spiritual allegory wrapped in chemical metaphor. The transmutation it describes isn't about lead becoming gold. It's about the human soul transforming through knowledge. The alchemists were chasing the wrong thing, but in chasing it, they changed the world. Subscribe for more stories where history's greatest mysteries reshape what we thought we knew about human discovery.